I wanted to start this morning with a pop quiz. You're all ready, right?
Yep.
You don't need to respond if you haven't been here before. I do want to start with a question. What is consciousness? Oh, you
The
want to
opposite
answer?
of unconscious?
We'll talk about unconscious and non-conscious. So, how do you define consciousness? That's a tough one. Is consciousness the same thing as energy? Can't study the head. No, they're completely different. Energy can be measured, determined, detected, but you can't do that with consciousness. No scientist alive can detect consciousness. Isn't that interesting? They've developed, the scientific field has developed a cliche around this. Energy flows, but consciousness knows. So when you're describing something conscious, you have to use terms that are around that. Nothing to do with matter, energy at all. The topic for today is inclusion beyond otherness. And the outline, which I made notes, the outline submitted by Reverend Michelle Senegal, who's the chair of our Diversity Inclusion Commission. Now these outlines are usually 2 to 3 pages. This one was 15 pages, some of which I used. So inclusion beyond otherness. What the heck does that mean? So I looked up otherness, Merriam-Webster online. The quality or state of being other or different. Expression number 2. Something that is other or different. They must get paid by the letter. So that was basically useless. Anytime you use the word, you're looking up the definition, you haven't learned a lot. So I kept going. Under another heading, I found, what is the concept of otherness? And I love this. Opposing us, the self, and them. The other is to choose a criterion that allows humanity to be divided into 2 groups. One that allows humanity to be divided, one that embodies the norm, and whose identity is valued in another that is defined by its faults as devalued and susceptible to discrimination. Woo! That's powerful in a negative way. Otherness allows us to be divided, allows us to be less than something else, someone else, susceptible to discrimination. Those are not the kinds of things we're looking for. So now we have somewhat of a working definition for otherness. My question is, who gets to choose the criterion that divides us into 2 groups? What criterion might that be? Race? Religion? Nationality? Gender identification? Immigration status? Political party? These are all divisive terms when they are applied one way, but they're nothing negative when they're applied a different way. So surely we can agree there's no shortage of criteria that we can use to divide people. But who gets to decide what the norm is? Or even more importantly, what the norm should be? This week I was reminded once again that there used to be more species of humans than just the one we have on the planet today. I don't know how many there were, but I've heard that so many times, that there were multiple species of humans. sapiens that exist today. We are one species. There's nothing else on the planet that's just one species. Nothing. There's more than 50,000 species of trees on Earth. How is it that there's only one species of humans? You think maybe Spirit was trying to tell us something? And if Spirit was trying to tell us something, might that be that we are one? One. Now, I started this morning talking about consciousness and energy. I want to pursue that a little more with a quote from Dr. Christian de Quincey in his book, Blind Spots. He explains that consciousness is the intrinsic ability of matter/energy to know, feel, and purposefully direct itself. Any being that has the capacity to know or feel anything or to make choices necessarily has consciousness. In this sense, consciousness is the capacity for awareness and choice. We have a plant growing near our front porch, wisteria. I was blanking out. I was like, what's it called? You can sit on the front porch and watch the wisteria plant make a choice. It sends tentacles out, and they're growing so fast you can almost see them. Well, you can see that thing moving around. If there's a little breeze, it looks, and it doesn't find anything to hook onto. Comes back and looks another direction. That's a plant. Don't tell me it doesn't have consciousness. Morning. Morning. So, I get all excited. Where was it?
Wisteria.
Plant consciousness.
Wisteria wasn't in here. It was just, the wisteria was whispering in my ear this morning. Dr. De Quincey states that there are two fundamental meanings of consciousness. One is philosophical, in which consciousness refers to a state of reality characterized by subjectivity, sentience, feeling, experience, meaning, and purpose. Anything that has those characteristics also has consciousness. Anything that does not would be non-conscious. Right, Kelly? Non-conscious. That is blank, void, vacuous, wholly objective. Now, Dr. De Quincey compares philosophical consciousness to a light switch. The light switch is either on or it's off. Do we need to adjust the temperature?
Yes.
Yeah. Kate, would you? We know it's not the temperature itself, it's the fact that cold air blows and then you're colder than the normal environment would warrant. But that's because you have consciousness. Thank you, Kate.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You didn't turn it down, did you?
I was doing that and was like, no, that's the wrong way.
So philosophical consciousness is like a light switch. On, off. For me, it's more like a light bulb. Either there's light or there's not. So that's how I remember philosophical consciousness. The other type of consciousness is psychological. This is a little deeper, referring to a state of consciousness. As an example, you're awake or dreaming, joyful, fearful, mystical, magical, above a threshold of awareness. Psychological presupposes the existence of philosophical consciousness. And it's typically contrasted with, again, the unconscious, which is below threshold awareness. That sometimes you're asleep in a trance or a coma or just doing things by habit or instinct. De Quincey says we each demonstrate feelings, cognition, and basic awareness. And in his very recent book, he used a president who I won't mention as lacking all of those. So therefore, at least while awake, we demonstrate psychological consciousness. Now, if you take his example a bit further, psychological consciousness is more like a dimmer switch. It can be on, it can rise, the lights can be bright or the lights can be dim. And that's an awareness of consciousness. Even while we sleep, we still display some form of philosophical consciousness through feelings, sensations. For me personally, that's when I do my best work, when I'm asleep. Some of you know what that means. We good? That was nice. Very thoughtful.
It was purple like me.
So hopefully we wake up from unconsciousness, but we can never recover from non-consciousness. So that's enough about consciousness. Let's take a look at energy. We can all agree that we are matter, which is energy vibrating at a state that we can see. The energy, the matter. That's what our physical bodies are. So how do you destroy energy? Trick question. Somebody knows. You can't destroy energy. All the energy that ever existed still exists. There's no new source of energy. Creative source, expanding everything, but it's still energy. Although we can't destroy energy, we can measure it as it flows through whatever part of our environment and the universe we're trying to discriminate on. Consciousness, which we already covered, is even more nebulous. Can't be measured, can't be detected, can't be divided or separated in any way. So in our teaching, you frequently hear the expression, we're spiritual beings having a physical, earthly experience. That's what we're talking about right now. We are spiritual matter, not spiritual matter. We are spiritual consciousness occupying an energetic physical matter. That's what we're saying. Same thing. The other one's a much better bumper sticker. So we know that as a physical body occupying space on the planet, as spiritual beings, we possess a type of consciousness that cannot be separated. It allows us to be self-aware. Is everybody with me on this? Okay, that's the scientific portion of the class today. So, at what point in your current incarnation did your energy field become completely separate from the energetic field of the cosmos? Trick question. Can't be. Never was. You can't be separated from your energetic field. There's just one energetic field. Can't be destroyed. How about consciousness? Surely your consciousness is separate from the consciousness of the universe, right? Kate studied it. Nope, wrong. Consciousness cannot be separated from consciousness. Science can't even detect it, let alone separate it. So each of us, as an energetic spiritual being, can't possibly be separated from our source, either at the energetic or consciousness level. So what does that mean? There is no other. There can't be otherness. Truth is that we are not now and can never be separate from one creative source. But we live and we occupy this illusion of separation that distorts how we look at others. We sense them as separate from ourselves. That's how we decide they are something other. Other. That's such an interesting word. You know, I love to play with words. Within the word other is he, her. Interesting. English has some really fun little nuances in it. So what is otherness, really? Otherness is an outer shell that has within it the light of oneness. The outer shell, like an M&M candy. We all have these bright, colorful outer shells. And inside we all are the same candy, right? Okay, if that one didn't get you, how about the Green Acres eggs? Some are brown, some are white, some are green, some are blue. And what's inside? An egg. They're all eggs on the inside. Dr. Holmes put it this way. If our human relations are to mean the most to us, we must sense that there is hidden within, around, and through each of us, a divine presence manifesting itself in infinite variations. The same impulse, the same love and life, but never quite alike in any two persons. Lest we forget, the root of everything is oneness, not otherness. In essence, all people are the same, like the M&Ms or the eggs. All souls emerge from the same origin, though we present ourselves in infinite variations. And that's how it was planned. Differences and disagreements are due to our perception of a fictional concept called otherness. And it's fiction. Anytime the us versus them polarity is operative, us groups and they groups are created. Some are included while others are excluded. Through all polarities and dualities, they all have meeting points in unity. Our founder, Dr. Holmes, said this: in God, nothing and no one is differentiated. Everything and everyone is united. There is no wall of separation, no barrier, no place where one begins and another leaves off. All is one and one is all. There can be no creation separate from the Creator, and no person separate from God. To live oneness is to be aware and awake, and such awareness as we have is God's awareness in us, recognizing itself in and through us, seeing that God is everyone in everything. That's the end quote. So the universe emerged from oneness. No one, no thing is excluded. Everything it represents or experiences is an aspect of oneness. That knowledge explains the grief of this mental illusion of separation and otherness. Doesn't that mean everything is included? Well, what is inclusion? It's all life, if all lived life from the truth that we're all incarnations of the divine, presented uniquely and distinctly, that we're bound together, inseparable, in the unity of God, otherness would cease to exist. Inclusion, by definition, means that all parts participate in the whole. If we embodied this, exclusion would cease to be. Living, moving, and having our being within the consciousness of oneness, we would experience inclusion beyond otherness. So how do you live inclusively? Dr. Holmes gives us an answer. The one who understands the science of mind will be tolerant, kind, and empathetic. Empathy forces us to think beyond the limits of our individual beliefs, shared only by those just like us. We can't minimize the feelings of others, of otherness, and the marginalization that creates within people. We must understand their experiences, backgrounds, and circumstances. We have to expand our circle of inclusion so that it's so big that nothing exists outside of it. One of the things that I loved at the CSL I went to in Vegas was they began every morning, every Sunday service with, "God bless the US of A and the rest of the world." I mean, when they said, "God bless the USA," my hair went, "Rrr," and the rest of the world, I went, "Oh." But that's what we're talking about, the inclusion. When we pray for our spiritual community, expand it to our geographical community, our continent, our planet, our cosmos. It's all one. That's the all-inclusivity we're looking for. The nature of oneness is goodness. It's the source of all love, compassion, color, beauty, peace. It's all there in the oneness. Whatever you see in someone else, you see in yourself. Whatever you touch, you're touching yourself. Whoever you talk to and how you talk to them is how you're talking to yourself. Maslow had a quote, "Transcendence of self is the very highest and most inclusive or holistic level of human consciousness, behaving and relating as ends rather than means, to oneself, to significant others, to beings, to human beings in general, to other species, to nature, and to the cosmos." That's expanding. One more Holmes quote. "There is one spirit incarnated in everyone, an immortal presence forever expanding everything, causing everything to grow." What a difference it would make in our human relations if we tried to sense the meaning of this divine incarnation in all people, and we adjusted our viewpoint to the truth that all are bound together in the unity of God. So, in summary, standing for inclusion in all things means being kind in all things. Being the first to say hello. Being the first to smile. Being the first to make a stranger welcome. Make people feel a part of things. Being helpful. Thinking of others' feelings. It's what it means to be inclusive beyond a word I hope I never hear again, otherness. Let's let that one go. That's it, except I want to give you a final affirmation. Sorry, bud. We strive to foster a climate of purposeful inclusion of all people. We treat everyone with mutual respect and dignity, for we understand there is only one. Namaste.
Namaste.